Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would be happy to. We would like to acknowledge that the city and borough of Juneau is on Tlingit land and wish to honor the indigenous people of this land. For more than 10,000 years, Alaska Native people have been and continue to be integral to the well-being of our community. We are grateful to be in this place, a part of this community, and to honor the culture, traditions, and resilience of the Tlingit people. Gonokchish.
Thank you, Ms. Gladaszewski. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Bryson,
Present.
Ms. Hale,
Here.
Ms. Hughes Candies,
Looks like she's in the bus.
I see you, Ms. Hughes
I'm here.
Candies.
I'm
Somebody-
here.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
here. It took me a second to figure out how to unmute. I got it now.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Treem is absent, Ms. Wall,
Present.
Wahalgaduck is absent, Ms. Gladaszewski.
Here.
And Madam Mayor,
Here.
a quorum is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, do you have any agenda changes?
No agenda changes. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. So we'll go to public participation on non-agenda items, and we have one. Oh, wait, this person has to wait for the election code. All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. So it doesn't look like we have anything for non-agenda items, just agenda items. So we will move on to approval of minutes. Ms. Gladaszewski.
I move the approval of the April 26, 2023 special assembly meeting minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Gladaszewski. Any objection?
I object with one small correction that I've notified the clerks of, but otherwise I remove my objection.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. I didn't know if you would read the minutes on your vacation. With that, we will go to agenda topics, and this first one is just an ordinance for introduction, so we will not be taking testimony on this ordinance. Mr. Manager. Oh, sorry, Madam Clerk. Or do we just pass this as the consent agenda because it doesn't say consent agenda?
So under the consent for ordinances for introduction, ordinance 2022-06 an ordinance appropriating $8,100,000 to the manager for the purchase of the Juneau Bone and Joint Center building at 3220 Hospital Drive, funding provided by hospital funds.
All right, thank you. Mr. Manager, I think we'll wait till the assembly for hear your spiel because this is just an introduction. So I will move to the assembly. Ms. Gladaszewski.
I move to introduce this ordinance and hear it at the next regular meeting. And I ask for unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, so moved. Next, we go to public hearing. Item 3, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance 2022-06 AKC, an ordinance appropriating $1,200,000 to the manager for a loan for the Ridgeview subdivision project, funding provided by the Affordable Housing Fund.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager.
During the fall of 2022, round 2 competition of the Juneau Affordable Housing Fund, 4 projects were awarded funding through a competitive funding round. The awardees were announced at the November 28, 2022 Lands, Housing and Economic Development Committee meeting and approved at the December 12, 2022 Assembly meeting. Phase 1 preliminary plat and preliminary alternative residential development plan were approved by the Planning Commission on December 12, 2022. This ordinance appropriates funds for a low-interest 1.2 million loan to Rooftop Properties LLC or Glacier Heights LLC to promote the construction of 24 units of new housing in the Midtown area of Juneau. Application indicated long-term plans to build a total of 444 housing units. The loan will be secured by a deed of trust on the property. At the direction of the Assembly Committee of the Whole at its March 6, 2023 meeting, City Manager redrafted this ordinance with substantive changes requiring reintroduction. Lands Housing Economic Development Committee heard this topic on April 24th and forwarded version B to the Assembly. Manager has updated this version C to explicitly authorize the manager to subrogate CBJ's interests to those of a commercial lending institution. I recommend you adopt this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. So we do have some testimony on this one. Mr. Ignell. Is he on Zoom or is he in the room? Mr. Ignell. Sorry.
Is this any better? No?
Come on up, Mr. Ignell. All right. So I'll just talk for a second. Can anybody hear me? Okay, yeah.
Let me just do a sound check. Is this helpful? No,
You're very faint.
very faint. Doing a sound check on this one. Is that better?
I
Not
can hear you.
much. If I talk really loudly,
Just people in the room can't hear him.
Wow.
You have to just talk up, Mr. Manager. All right, Mr. Ignell, please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, is that better? Sound check? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My name is David Ignell. I'm from West Juneau. I think I have, some qualifications to talk about this ordinance. I spent most of my career, my professional career in commercial real estate finance. And then my father was a custom home builder and developer here in Juneau since the 1950s. In my opinion, I don't think that this ordinance is going to alleviate our problem with housing and affordable housing. My analysis shows that the return on equity would be about 3% increase, which investors are looking for 20 to 30% return on equity. So this subsidized interest rate doesn't move the needle much. The other thing is that it adds a layer of complexity to the financing, to the capital stack, if you will. There'll need to be subordination agreements. Your legal costs will go up from the development standpoint. I'm concerned about hidden costs. Basically, you guys are taking on the role of a bank, of a financial institution. You're going to need experts in valuation. You're going to need experts in credit management. And you're going to need legal to not only review the documents with you and the developer, but also those in first position. And if you have mezz financing, which you may have on bigger developments, you're going to have quite a mess. My other concern is that you're competing against the private sector. We already have people who do second trust deed financing. And so you're going to be taking business away from those people. And then lastly, I want to see more housing in Juneau, and I want to see more affordable housing. My dad was a board member on Housing First. But to do that, we need to start looking at this differently. We need to figure out how we can make Juneau more accessible to developers. And that's going to be reducing some of the restrictions. It's also going to mean allowing people to convert some of their homes into rental housing, which I understand right now is a huge difficulty. It's also going to mean allowing more competition for materials to come into town. Like, for instance, I understand we have one asphalt plant now. We didn't used to. Concrete, shipping. What we need is a city that is more conducive and agreeable to small developers, which we don't have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ignell? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anybody else in the room wish to speak to this ordinance? All right, seeing none, we will bring it back to the assembly. Mr. Bryson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It does sound a little bit quiet when normally I can hear the volume a little bit higher. You guys hear me okay?
The fans are.
I'll turn the fan off.
Fine on the Zoom.
It's the room that's.
All right. Madam Mayor, I would move that we adopt ordinance 2022-06 BAKC appropriating 1.2 million to the manager for a loan for the Ridgeview subdivision project, and I ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Bryson. Objections?
I just have a objection for the purposes of a question.
Go ahead.
Just to the attorney, the subrogation of CBJ's interest to those of a commercial banking lender, that was new to me. So explain that and why did that happen and why that's good or okay. I shouldn't say good.
Mr. Watt's going to answer.
Thank you, Mayor. How's that for a sound check?
No, you haven't even pressed the button.
Thank you. So in a series of long conversations with developers, Chamber of Commerce, and people involved in banking, it became abundantly clear that any development, housing development project in Juneau is extremely likely to have bank financing. There are very few developers who have the financial resources to build a housing development with their own cash. When a bank is involved, the bank is going to only loan to a developer if they are certain that they are going to get return on their investment. The unfortunate problem we have is high cost of construction and land development makes projects very difficult to finance through conventional banking loans, which is why we have begun the path of low interest loans to help stimulate housing development. When we do that loan, if we try to place requirements that put us in front of the bank won't loan to the developer. We're a relatively small piece of the funding package. So the whole deal will fall apart unless we agree to take position behind the bank. I hope that answers your question.
Follow up, Ms. Gladszewski.
Yeah, I understand what we did in that take a position behind the bank, but what do Ms. Lane, I mean, that just means, you know, how much is this land worth? How much are they getting bank? How much loans are they getting from someone else? How big a risk is this now that we're not, you know, in line first?
Thank you, Mayor. So the ordinance requires that this loan be required by a deed of trust, which means it would be secured by the land. However, by taking a position behind the bank, we don't have an effective means of collecting on that in the short term. So essentially, we have a secured loan, but the timeline is long because it becomes after the bank.
Okay, thank you. I remove my objection.
Okay, I'll object for purposes of a question too. So basically what you're saying, we're doing a lesser interest loan basically to get them in a position to get a loan from a financial institution.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that's one way to look at it, and I think that's correct. There are other ways to look at it. If a developer, a normal developer who doesn't have the cash assets to build a project like this is using all venture capital, those venture capital investors will require a high rate of return. The testifier indicated that, and I agree. Venture capital on housing projects is well known to require high rates of return. So if you're using all venture capital on a housing project in our market with our high construction costs, then the project simply doesn't pencil out.
All right, thank you. I'll remove my objection. Any further objection or any objection, I should say? Seeing none, this ordinance passes. Madam Clerk, item 4.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance 2023-24, an ordinance amending the elections code relating to election procedures.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager.
At the January 30, 2023 regular assembly meeting, the assembly directed staff to draft an ordinance which would make by mail elections the default for all CBJ elections going forward.
Oh, there we go.
Unless called for differently. Does that actually sound okay? Okay. Unless called for differently by the assembly. Since that is a paradigm shift in the default method by which we conduct elections, it also required an overhaul of our current election code. Ordinance 2023-24 is mostly a housekeeping rewrite of the election code to streamline and move current by mail election sections 2907-360 and 2907-370 into the main body of the election code. It also provides clarity of language and codifies some of the past practices that have been in our policies and procedures into the code to enhance election transparency. Assembly Committee of the Whole reviewed the draft ordinance at its April 24, 2023 meeting and forwarded it to the Assembly. Your packet contains the municipal clerk's memo to the Assembly COW with the sectional summary of the ordinance changes to the election code. I recommend you adopt this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And we do have members of the public. We're looking at Zoom first. If you would bring over Ms. Lewis. Do we have Ms. Lewis on Zoom?
I'm here.
Oh, sorry. We don't see you on our end. So please state your name and area of the town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Karen Lewis. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Assembly members. My name is Karen Lewis, and I am speaking against mail-in ballots. The election system that we currently have, not only here in this state, but all over our nation is not good. It's become centralized, vulnerable to cheating through machines that can be manipulated, and there are dirty voter rolls that enables ballot stuffing. ERIC, which I don't know if we still are involved, but I know that we were, we have 121% of eligible voters in our voter rolls. And this is pretty common for ERIC. And the bloated voter rolls creates a way for cheating in elections. This has to be fixed. The problem will be solved if we vote and count the ballots at precinct levels. We must have voting day, not voting month, and in-person voting with very few exceptions. Mail-in ballots should strictly be used for military people who are overseas and people who cannot vote in person due to physical disabilities. Mail-in ballots were used to change the outcomes of elections in 2020 and 2022, and probably other ones too. COVID-19 was a believable reason for the secretaries of state to take it upon themselves to allow mail-in ballots throughout their states, even though the legislature was the body that determines election procedures. In Pennsylvania, tens of thousands of ballots are returned before they were sent out. Hundreds of thousands of completed ballots were shipped from New York to Pennsylvania before the election. The truck driver swore to this in an affidavit. 2.5 million absentee ballots were counted in Pennsylvania, but only 1.8 million in total were sent out. What in the world, huh? There were 202,377 more votes cast than voters voting. What in the world? This has to be fixed. In Michigan, according to the state's voter information center, there were over 8.1 million registered voters in the 2020 election. That makes the state's voter registration rate over 100%. But as I said, that's pretty normal in ERIC. There were 31 states involved in ERIC. I don't know how many there are now. A lot of people were dropping out. A lot of states were dropping out. Alaska deserves secure elections. We must require stringent valid IDs also before a voter can receive a ballot and cast their vote. Many people are receiving more than one ballot in the mail. I mean, there are mail-in ballots everywhere. Some people get 2, 3, 4, 5, it's ridiculous. And it really has to stop. It's one of our most precious rights, and we must stop the voting fraud throughout our country and in this state. We have to save our nation. One day, in-person voting at precincts will reduce ballot stuffing substantially. Then hand counting the ballots at a precinct and not a centralized area where there is a lot of room for vote theft, which disenfranchises Alaskan voters. We have to not do this. No.
Ms.
Yeah.
Lewis, you're out of time.
Okay,
Any-
can I send the balance to the assembly people? The balance, it's not much more. It's about another page. Can I send it through email?
Yes,
Do you want this?
you're welcome to send it via email.
Okay.
Any questions for Ms. Lewis? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Sure.
Next, we have Mr. Icknell again. And Mr. Icknell, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. David Ignell from West Juneau. I don't have as much to say about this. I just think that election integrity is important, and there's a lot of uncertainty about it in our nation right now and in Alaska. And I don't think we need to add to that. I guess in looking at this item today on the agenda, my real question was why? Why do we need this? I don't see any explanation in the materials as to what's the benefit of this thing going to be. Why can't we just, go as we've been going where people, I think it's a great social thing when people show up on election day and vote. It gets people in the community together. It's a rare opportunity for Democrats and Republicans to be in the same room together and to help heal this divide that we have. So I think the last thing we want to do is pass this ordinance and help create distance between people. Let's get everybody together and work out our differences. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Icknell? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Mr. Ryder. Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Brad Ryder and live in North Douglas. And I'm just wondering why we want to fix something that's not broken. And how many people are behind, how many people came up with this idea and are moving forward with it? It doesn't make any sense to me. Our other way of voting in person has worked well forever. We used to have them in our garage when I was a kid. My mom did them at her house. It's always worked perfectly. And I think I don't need to take up all 3 minutes here, but I think at the very least, if you're going to move forward with this, it should be a vote of the people, not being decided by just a couple of people that affects the whole town dramatically. There's nothing wrong with in-person voting. I'm totally against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ryder? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Is there any other member of the public in the room that wishes to testify? Please state your name and area of town you live in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Chris Wallace. I live in Lemon Creek. 2 points on mail-in voting. Last year, we received ballots at our house for people who haven't lived in that house, at least 2 families back, and everybody in between. And if I wanted to, I could fill those ballots out and mail them in. That's the problem, mail-in balloting. My other point is you can't exercise your right to own a gun in this country without going through a bunch of paperwork and proving that you're capable and responsible. You should not be allowed to vote without proving at least that you're here and that you are who you say you are. And mailing a ballot to my house with my name on it doesn't make me who I say I am. It just makes our ballot goes to my house. And anybody can vote. And I think it's wrong and we shouldn't be doing it at the state or the city or the federal level. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Wallace? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. I saw a hand in the back, Mr. Bergstrom. Please state your name and area of the town in for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Frank Bergstrom, 7.5 Mile Glacier Highway. Thank you all. We really appreciate you guys working hard. And this is a tough job at a low pay. Simple point, one of the assembly members prior to the last election, when asked what was the primary reason for going to mail-in ballots, was because of voter turnout and the expectation that there would be greater turnout by having people be able to sit at home and mail their ballot in. Well, the last election, it was actually lower turnout. So if my question to you all is, if the primary reason for going to ballots by mail was not achieved, in fact, was the inverse, what is the justification now for continuing on and expanding this policy? Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bergstrom? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. All right, with that, we'll close public testimony and bring it back to the assembly. Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Assembly approve ordinance 2023-24, an ordinance amending the elections code relating to election procedure. And I ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Any objections? Ms. Wall.
I'll just object for a comment, if that's okay, just because there was a few questions in the audience. On the why, I do believe that when we've discussed this as an assembly in the past, the reason we wanted to move forward with mail-in voting was because we wanted it to increase voter participation. Someone just brought up that this last year, it actually decreased from the year before. You'll also remember that the assembly races were completely uncontested last year. And so I actually spent some time looking over the years at voter participation in the types of races, heavily contested races versus races that weren't heavily contested. And I do believe that the last few years have shown that mail-in voting has increased voter participation.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. I will object. I'll speak very briefly. Would disagree with the folks, apologize, that talked about the integrity of the elections. I've worked for the elections. It would be very, very hard, especially in the city. I can't speak for the state or the federal, to vote twice or anything else. So that's not my reason. My reason is just comes to the basic. I feel that election day is kind of sacred. And by voting by mail, I think we've taken some of the emphasis how wonderful it is to get out and vote. So all these precincts had personalities, and I dismiss those, and I wish we didn't have to do it by mail. With that, Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So to move ordinance 2023-24, Ms. Wall,
Yes.
Mr. Bryson,
No.
Ms. Hale,
Yes.
Ms. Hughes Candies,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Gladaszewski,
Yes.
and Mayor Weldon.
No.
Motion passes. 4 yeas, 2 nays. 5, sorry. 5-2.
Should be 6 yeas, 1 nay. I'll help you out there, Madam Clerk. Oh, Mr. Bryson said no too.
5 to
Sorry.
2.
5-2. Sorry about that. Sorry, Mr. Bryson. You were so quiet down there. All right, with that, we conclude our,
Madam Mayor, normally there's another opportunity for non-agenda speaking.
not in our special assemblies typically, although I do have one more item. Ms. Wall, would you talk briefly about our city manager recruitment committee? I can't remember what we named it. Sorry, Mr. Manager, we're talking about this in front of you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And everyone can hear me, but is everyone else hearing themselves? It's fairly distracting. Okay. If I speak slowly, that's why. So I am, now no one can hear me at all. Yeah, sorry. I'll speak up and see how this works. I am chairing the hiring committee for the new city manager. We met as a committee on Monday and made a few decisions. I just wanted to let the body know. We moved forward with going with what we called a blended option for recruitment. So instead of hiring a outside firm to run our recruiting process, we are going to run that process in-house using our HR staff. But we are going to look into hiring, I guess they call them headhunters, which are individuals who would be bringing in candidates for us, and that would only cost money if the assembly decides to select a candidate that they brought forward. So it's a low-cost option that just helps expand our pool. We also began work on getting the job posting out the door. We're hoping to do that this week. Mr. Hargrave has taken the results from the survey that went out to assembly members and senior staff and is turning that into a job posting. We're going to be providing some feedback to him before he puts it out into the world, but it will be open for 4 weeks. And then the idea that we wanted to make sure other assembly members were okay with is that Mr. Hargrave would be pre-screening all candidates that come in. So looking at these candidates in comparison to what the assembly said they were interested in and bringing the committee back more information, and that the committee would then choose somewhere around 6 to 10 candidates to do initial screening interviews, with the idea that we would then forward to the full assembly a smaller pool, let's say 3 to 5 candidates that the full assembly would get a chance to meet and interview, as well as other community engagement opportunities. So I'm happy to take any questions, or if people have significant concerns with those steps that we're moving towards, now would be a good time to know that.
Any questions for Ms. Wall? Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Wall, could you just tell me a little bit more about the having Mr. Hargrave pre-screen candidates? I mean, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so basically, Mr. Hargrave is taking the results of the survey and coming up with like criteria that we have said that we're interested in. And so he would do kind of a half-hour phone interview with basically anyone who met the minimum qualifications, and basically screen them against those criteria. Does that make sense?
And then he may eliminate some candidates after that conversation.
Yes, I'm assuming he would provide us more information on a top group of candidates from which the committee would select 6 to 10 to have a first round interview with the committee.
Just a quick question. Have access to all of them? I mean, you could pull one out of the bin if you wanted.
We didn't confirm that with Mr. Hargrave, but I assume that we could do that. Basically have Mr. Hargrave not eliminate anyone, give us his recommendations, but it would be our decision who to keep and who to release.
Yeah, but I just would be more comfortable if you did that. I mean, it's our recruitment and you should be able to, and he's probably gonna be the same as yours, but you want to make sure you have a chance to. So thank you.
Yep, that makes sense. The one other thing I just wanted to say is next Monday, next Tuesday, the 30th, May 30th, we will be, the committee will be meeting to talk about that screening criteria. And so any other assembly members are welcome to join us and participate in that conversation if you like. In addition to any other of our meetings, we're happy to have other assembly members there if you would like to be there.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wall. And just to repeat what you said, any assembly members can certainly fit in if they have questions or comments or want to see anything that the committee does. So with that, we are adjourned.
Notice for 5:30. My phone even has 5:30 crossed off. I didn't get the message. I came in to speak under non-agenda items. I would like that opportunity.
It's the will of the assembly because we did publicly notice it for 5 o'clock just after the fact. All right, come on up. Please state your name and area of town you live in. For the record, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Carla Hart. I live on the back loop. I am here today to remind you that with 4 ships in town, there's $168,678 worth of costs in health accrued to this community. This is per the CBJ, the same numbers that the CBJ shore power study is based on. Juneau has capacity for only 25% shore power unless more is built. The Juneau Shore Power grant proposal package glossed over what the costs are beyond dollars to the community in their cost benefit analysis. You and the community must understand what those dollars equate to. When fossil fuels are combusted, they put off nitrogen oxides, which become nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide is not very water soluble. So when it goes deep into our, so when we breathe it, it doesn't get caught in our nose. It goes deep into our lungs in the delicate spongy membrane where immune cells are in battle inhaled viruses and bacteria. Nitrogen dioxide is a powerful cellular poison that damages those protective immune cells, leaving us more vulnerable to flu, respiratory infections and other diseases. Plus they cause inflammation, which triggers asthma. Sulfur dioxide is water soluble. And when it hits our nostrils, it becomes basically battery acid, burning our airway and lungs. Ultrafine particulates carry heavy metals and are small enough to go right into our lungs from our bloodstream. Diesel exhaust exposure is associated with neurological disease, Alzheimer's, and other serious diseases, both for adults and children. CO2, of course, is a climate change driver. Today, these ships are more than doubling Juneau's 2007, which is the statistics I could find, daily highway transport emissions for CO2. So it's hard for us to achieve our sustainability if we are importing our pollution. I urge you to stop any support or actions towards a 5th dock until we're addressing the health in Juneau, and you can provide shore power for all of the ships that are in whenever they're in dock, because your decisions or your lack of action are actually physically harming the health of people in Juneau. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Hart.
Mr. Smith first and then Ms. Hale. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Hart. Are the health impacts that you mentioned, are those things that we would see in terms of hospital visits or things that would actually show up in data in the near term due to acute exposure? Or, I mean, is it long? I mean, are we going to see that? I mean, anyway, could you explain?
Well, I don't have access to any of that data, and I don't know that anybody in Juneau has looked at it. There's a tremendous body of medical literature that's peer reviewed that says that exposure to diesel exhaust, which is what this is, has these health impacts. And there's calculators to know what's coming out of the stack. So there's no reason to believe that Juneau residents are any different physiologically than humans anywhere else in the country or the world. So I don't know if we could find that. A lot of them are slow time. The asthma effects, we might see more asthma attacks. We might see more heart attacks at the hospital. I don't know. I don't have access to that data. But a lot of it, the neurological effects, are cumulative and over a long time. the effects to a child that's exposed while they're in the uterus, that's also over time and we won't know.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hale, did you have a question?
Yes, Ms. Hart, would you referenced a dollar figure at the beginning of your testimony, and would you please send us the assembly that dollar figure and describe exactly where you arrive at that? I don't need to know now, just if you could send that figure and tell us this.
I will send that to you. I have sent the source material to you so you could do your own calculations before, but I'll resend it with this calculation for today.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
To order for May 17th. Madam Clerk, will you note roll? Please note that Wahalgadock and Ms. Treem are not here with us. Ms. Hale and Ms. Huskanis are on Zoom. Ms. Hale, did you have a chance to look at these minutes? Oh, she's frozen. Mr. Smith moves the minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move approval of the May 10th, 2023 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any objections? Seeing none, those minutes are approved. So we're going to go into agenda topics. First of all, I just want to tell everybody this is our last budget meeting. To all the assembly members, we have to finish tonight. So I'm going to ask everybody to keep their statements as brief as they possibly can. Please don't make frivolous motions unless you know that they're going to pass. And we will try and get through this because Ms. Hale is on the East Coast and Ms. Huskanis is not in this time zone either. So for their sake, it would be nice to move through this. With that, we will move on to revenue taxation update. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will keep my comments short and not make unnecessary motions. So the first thing on the agenda is an update on the third quarter of FY 23. That is the January, February, March quarter of sales tax. We did see underperformance in that quarter. If you go to this page in the supplemental packet, it's the easiest place to see it. We missed that forecast by 1.3 million, but per comments in my memo, that's part of the reason staff were wrestling with this last week is that we attribute a significant portion of that shortfall to be timing differences, including an adjustment to quarter two, which comes with this update of 800,000. And also because the last day of the filing period fell on the first day of the next quarter, it's that portion of that revenue strangely is going to be recorded in quarter four. This was an alert to staff to think about how we report sales tax by quarter to try to improve this projection. So we're going to do that. Ultimately, that revenue shortfall for the third quarter does suggest maybe as much as $500,000 shortfall to be forecast for this year and the same next. But per the memo, we're not recommending you make any changes to the forecast at this time. There's still a lot at play. I think that the $16 million forecast for the April to June quarter is very, very possibly not high enough. And I just wouldn't encourage you to do anything with this other than take it as a minor moment of caution about the economy maybe starting to change a little bit. But we don't make enough of this, given what we acknowledge as timing differences, to want to change the forecast at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Any questions on the sales tax forecast? Mr. Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Rogers, I did actually notice and saw when that happened because it directly impacted me. How often has this happened? And did you just hint to staff coming up with a solution so that when the dates fall like this in the future, that it gets recorded in the right month? What could you maybe just elaborate a little?
Yeah,
Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Senator Bryson. So we're thinking about that exact issue. Part of the reason that we
part of the reason we do it the way we do it, which is a little bit hard to talk about in terms of days because the calendar days can be anomalous, is that we take in revenue for sales tax filings all the time for many quarters back. If we recorded that current revenue back to many quarters back, you'd have you'd have actuals that changed every day. And we actually think that's probably more confusing, but we are trying to figure out a better way to do this. My predecessor didn't really have a quarter by quarter forecast methodology, so it didn't matter to him as much. We've used a quarter by quarter philosophy. It's been helpful, but these issues of timing, we're finding them to be complicated. We will keep improving that method as much as we can. This is interesting because it's not that the sales tax office did something anomalous. It's that the calendar itself was peculiar and caused revenue to wind up in a different place than we thought on both ends of this particular quarter.
Follow up, Ms. Gladachevsky, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I don't want to, maybe we talk after whatever, the quarter bit, I had assumed until you just said that you were recording things for the quarter that it was collected in, but I don't need the big details. I was trying to understand what you meant by timing, because I assumed that, April ended or whatever, June ended and you stopped, but you just answered my question backwardsly. So never mind. Thank you.
Anything on Zoom, Ms. Hughes Candies or Ms. Hale? Any questions on sales tax? Seeing nothing further, Mr. Rogers, update on assessment appeals, property valuation, increased metrics.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll avoid reading this memo to you, but there is some interesting information here. The assessor's office received 395 appeals in 2023. The vast majority of those are residential. There's actually just a handful of commercial appeals this year. Of that, nearly 400 appeals, the assessor's office has closed 252 of those. All of those were closed by mutual discussion between the appellant and the assessor's office, in most cases correcting errors to assessment records. Most of those do result in a reduction to assessed value, because most of the time somebody's appealing, they're able to say, my house isn't that big. We tore down a shed, something's wrong, and we correct those errors. Mostly those corrections do result in assessed valuation reductions. There's some information in here about what those kind of look like. We expect of the remaining 140 some appeals that maybe a dozen or two of those will go to the Board of Equalization for decision. But we are optimistic we will work with most of those appellants and come to a mutual understanding about correction assessments that need to be made. There's been a little bit of talk about how to, and I've had this conversation with many of you, which is the reason I've put a memo out about sort of how CBJ's increases to residential property value line up with inflation or not. And just two broad comments about this. One, the cost of housing, not only in Juneau or not only in Alaska, but nationwide, have inflated faster than overall inflation. Housing is just getting to be more expensive, and more expensive faster than other relatable things. So it's difficult to line up the inflating value of your home with just sort of the big headline numbers for inflation. I gave you a comparison in this memo of CBJ average residential value to median home price for the US West, which is good information that comes from the St. Louis Fed about median home price. Those numbers, I didn't really know this would happen, but those numbers actually line up pretty closely between Juneau and that US West median. There's an interesting divergence in the graph at the top of this page. The second to last page of the packet, maybe Ms. Spiegel can pull it up for us, illustrates this pretty well. So in this graph, the blue line that you see is average CBJ residential value, and the gray line is median home price in the US West. Those lines actually track pretty close together from 2004 to 2020. And then there's a strange divergence where the median home price, as reported by the Fed, shoots up quite rapidly in 21 and 22, and then retreats a little bit in 23. Average CBJ residential value didn't do that. And there may be a number of factors why. one of those factors is that the assessor's office in those years was very focused on commercial property and probably just spent less time trying to figure out what was going on with residential value just as a nature of limited resources. But also it would make some sense to me that mandatory disclosure gave us information that we didn't have in those 2 years about how rapidly home prices had been growing. So there's nothing about this data that I've tried to fit. It's the reality that we have tracked median US West home price pretty closely, except until then, but now we're coming back together. Median home prices have fallen a little bit into 23 and we have caught up. Nothing to make of that other than it's more data points for consideration. I'll also note in the same graph, you'll notice that the rate of inflation, which is the orange line, is different. It's divergent from the cost of housing. And it speaks to the fact that housing is getting more expensive faster than other things are. Anyways, I put all this forward because we've had a lot of conversations about it. And then the very last part of this is just, I know you all were preparing to make mill rate decisions tonight. It's always a good reminder just to think about how much, as you change the mill rate up or down, how it affects differently situated homeowners. So I think that's it from me, Madam Mayor, and if there are any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Rogers? Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Rogers, we obviously are assessing 2023 values on January 1, 2023. Is the US West, is that number, is it the same date or is it just as current of information as they have so far? Or anyway, what's their, do you know what their?
Yeah, thank you, Assemblyman Smith. Good question. The median home West prices are reported on the same dates that CPI is, which is every other month. And if I'm not mistaken, I did pull these. I have this data. I'm happy to share it. I did pull these home prices as of January 1st in each of these years, not the intervening months, but just the January 1st dates every year. So yes, to answer your question, they should line up. That was the effort.
Any further questions, Ms. Gladysevsky?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Rogers, I appreciate this because I was trying to do my own version of this with properties I could anal retentive people who keep their postcards, who are my friends, and I got a bunch of them. And I made them a spreadsheet. I made a spreadsheet and it was super interesting, just like this. They do not line up. This is sort of for the mill rate discussion. The properties don't inflate at the same rate. Some go up while others go down. But when you, for an individual year, but when you do it over a longer period of time, 10 years, 5 years, it gets more better, right? So some properties stayed the same for 4 years and then poof, jumped up 20%. And if you had just looked at 1 year and you would say, gosh, why did my property jump 20%? Hasn't gone up for the last 4 years. So all of those things are in these data. And I appreciate that this is here. So just for the mill rate discussion, thank you.
Anything on Zoom? Any questions from you guys up there? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. We will go to.
Appreciate the memo.
Yeah, we will go to item 3.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So pages 2 and 3 of the regular packet are just the budget update on budget summary. There's nothing particular to do here now. At any time tonight, I can pull these pages up. We can look at things. There is a little widget in the corner of the page on page 3 that allows us to type in any mill rate that you might want to set tonight, and it will tell you how much you increase or reduce property taxes and what the impact is.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to interrupt for a second. I'm not sure if Mr. Rogers' mic is on or I'm.
No, I was not. My mic was
Okay,
muted.
he's going to start again.
I am going to start. And
I
I will
could hear
say,
most of it.
We're having a
will
little
say-
trouble with
By virtue of someone
operator
else's
error
mic.
on that side of the room.
Yes, I will say even less. Pages 2 and 3. So we will work with this tonight. I'll bring up the spreadsheet. There's a little widget in the bottom of page 3 that allows us to model what various mill rates look like. I think this will be useful later on in the conversation. If there are any questions now about what we've done here, I'm happy to answer them. But this is really just to say, this is the update as of the decisions the Assembly made last Wednesday.
All right, any questions from the Assembly? So just to be clear, because that's the bottom line we always look at, right now with all our decisions, our unrestricted fund balance is 11.9 million, correct?
Madam Mayor, that is correct. It is 11.9 million after a $1 million lapse, assuming that you implement the manager's proposed mill rate. So yes, with some caveats.
Thank you for that. Okay, so next we're going to have a little bit of unusual thing. When we did the pending list, we actually didn't hear from BRH about their items on that. We had already done the 2.5 million, so they asked for 10 minutes. So we will give them a very strict 10 minutes. So if we could have Mr. Muse and Mr. Solomon Gross come up, you guys have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Assembly members. First of all, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you guys' hard work during this tenuous budget session season. And I really appreciate you guys giving us an opportunity to come back tonight and just talk to you guys a little bit. And I know at last meeting, I think that maybe some things weren't answered correctly or haven't been answered correctly. So I'm hoping tonight in this short period of time that we're able to answer all the questions that need to be answered and maybe kind of present a little bit of information that maybe didn't get out. So again, I just want to thank you very much. And I'm going to stop talking and let Mr. Muse speak.
Thanks, Kenny. I've got 9 minutes now.
9.5.
So I think what I want to do here is two things, because I think there's two things that are important, is really talk about the difference between a loan or debt and grant, and then try as best as I can to explain why we would use the city's fund balance in this case instead of our own. So starting with debt versus a grant. One of the biggest things is that debt does not flow through the income statement. It's a temporary boost to cash, and then it's a liability. So we don't see it on the income statement. Typically, debt is taken out to purchase or construct something large right now, and then it's paid back over time. And usually, people who are taking out debt are cash flow positive and can expect to repay it and get some sort of ROI out for it. You typically don't take out debt to fund deficits in operating, which would kind of be the case here. The other point is with our current debt that we have about 37 million in bonds outstanding. And on those bonds, we have what's called a rate covenant, and the rate covenant specifies that our net revenues, so hospital revenues less the cost of operating, need to be 115% of your debt payments. Our debt payments this year are $2.84 million. 115% of that is $3.2 million. Adding back things like depreciation, our operating loss this year is negative $5 million. So the delta between the two right off the bat is about $8 million. So the higher that debt service payment goes in the future, the harder it's going to be for Bartlett to achieve its rate covenants going forward. So that's a little bit about the debt versus a grant, just in terms of that perspective. And the next item that we wanted to talk about is fund balance. And I think there's three key concepts, and it's the size of Bartlett, the nature of Bartlett's industry, which is healthcare, and then the comparative health of our two, financial health of our two. Well, we're the same organization, but you get my point. So the size of Bartlett. On an expenditure standpoint, Bartlett is about $10 million bigger than the entire general government of the city. It's about 3.2 times larger than all the other enterprise funds combined. We employ about 1 out of every 3 CBJ employees, including the school district. And because of our size, it's about $150 million in operating expenditures next year. That's just over 3.5 months of operating expenditures. The industry of cash days on hand, we have about $38 million of cash right now. So the industry standard is typically 6 months. So we're right around kind of where we'd consider a minimum. And I think other enterprise funds in the city, like the airport, typically have a 2 to 3 month reserve that they keep on hand. So the other point is the nature of the industry. Obviously, healthcare is a lot less certain than government in terms of you have fairly stable tax base. You recently got rated AA positive for your bonds, which kind of indicates that a very stable outlook. The hospital is very dependent on patient demand, which has dwindled over the last few years because of COVID. It's also very dependent on federal reimbursement. An example would be the rural demonstration for the hospital, which we get. That is a temporary law in place, and it gives the hospital about $5 million annually. It's set to expire in a few years. We don't know if it will be renewed or not, but that's kind of the uncertainty that we're dealing with. It's also a very competitive environment. We have difficult operating conditions right now with labor shortages, burnout, and all of the above. The risk to the community, if the hospital were to get critically low on cash, is fairly severe. There's things like debt ceiling issues that the federal government is currently dealing with that could potentially freeze Medicaid and Medicare reimbursements for any number of weeks if it doesn't get resolved, which could significantly hinder our cash position as well. So the comparative health of Bartlett versus CBJ, the general government, the hospital is anticipating that we'll have lost about $40 million in available fund balance over the last 5 years. So from 75 million down to about 37 million is what is anticipated in our current budget iteration. That's despite getting about $20 million in federal revenues over the last several years. We are currently operating at a $10 million plus deficit. We aren't funding operations, let alone the $6 to $7 million of annual capital needs or the $3 million of debt service that we have annually. Obviously, we hope to get to a place where we're funding these things, but it will take some time and it will take a lot of strategic capital investment to get there. So to that point, we need to preserve our capital fund balance to be able to fund those sorts of growth initiatives, to be able to fund our property purchases, things like our emergency department expansion that we had to put temporarily on hold, EMR upgrades. So the electronic medical record is lacking, for lack of a better term. We need new time systems. We're investing in capital equipment like the Da Vinci robot. It's going to take us years before we're even supporting operations, our current capital needs, and paying our debt service, let alone adding to our fund balance. And that's assuming that our strategic initiatives right now are successful. I will say too that over the last 25 years, CBJ has a history of funding the hospital in terms of operating grants. This would be the first year in over 25 years that the hospital did not receive any operating grants. The average during those 25 years was about $1.2 million. So we have a history of partnership, and yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. I think I'm right up against my time. So thank you.
Madam Mayor, I just want to say one thing too is one of the things is when we realized that our burn rate was so bad, to say with COVID and the hiring of a new CEO and our new CFO, we were able to have the senior leadership team and Sam and his team really dig deep into the weeds, where it was going on and where it was happening. And we came up with 3 phases for the hospital to try to get this back on track. And our plan right now is still, with of course the help of us all working together, is to be sort of at a budget neutral period by fiscal 2024. So this has been in our plans, and this is something that has been adopted by our board too as well. So again, I thank you guys very much for your time and listening to us today.
Thank you, and your 10 minutes is done. Any questions for the Bartlett folks? Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you both for being here. I feel like you answered so many of my questions that I've had along the way, and I'm glad we're able to hear from you tonight. One thing that I think was cleared up for me is this, this funding that has been requested is really about operating expenses. And you made a comment that, their CBJ has a history of helping the hospital fund operating expenses. And I certainly know that that's a model in, other places in the world. Why a one-time funding ask from the Assembly if the CBJ is to kind of assist the hospital with operating expenses, it certainly would be good to be planning for what that looks like in the future. Why just a one-time ask?
Mr. Muse.
Thank you, Ms. Wool. I don't think either CBJ or Bartlett want to be in a long-term position where the city has to fund the hospital, honestly. And I think our plan for the hospital, our hope for the hospital is that we're self-sufficient going forward. I talked about the size of the hospital. We've quickly become bigger than the whole general government of the city. So it's not a sustainable long-term solution to ask the city for millions of dollars a year. And I think we recognize that. I think going forward, one-time capital asks or 1% temporary sales tax might be a better avenue. But in this critical juncture for Bartlett, we're asking for operating expenditures to help save capital for investments, strategic growth initiatives, and things of that nature.
Any further questions? Ms. Glaszewski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Muse. I appreciate your answers this time, way more thorough than last time I asked. So you had some time to think about it. So I appreciate that. And your answer to Ms. Wall just confused me. You just said that the city's been giving about 1.2 million a year every year. And you said, but not for operating. What have we been giving you 1.2 million a year for? You'll have to refresh my memory.
Mr. Muse.
Through the chair, in the past history, yes, the Assembly has given money for operations. I think we are talking about prospectively, so into the future. Yeah.
All right, thank you. For questions, we're still on questions. Mr. Bryson and then Ms. Hughes Candies. Mr. Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had three, hopefully quick and simple questions. First, could you remind us the advantages of Juneau owning our community hospital? How does a small, in relative terms, few $1,000,000 smaller than somewhere around there, how does that make a difference in this environment? And you guys just built a big giant mental health building. How long before you have that fully outfitted and have patients going in there and are able to start generating revenue from that greatly needed service that is underserved right now in the community?
Mr. Muse.
Thank you, Mr. Bryson. So the benefits of a community-owned hospital, a community-owned hospital, the people of Juneau have a say in, right? Through their elected officials, they have a say in what sort of services that hospital provides, and I think that's a really good thing. I think choice for healthcare in the community is a really good thing. So I think that speaks to the benefits of a community-owned hospital. I mean, you look at the services that we currently provide on the behavioral health front. We have the Rainforest Recovery Center. We have applied behavioral analysis. We have a mental health unit. We have a crisis stabilization building. We have behavioral outpatient services. I can tell you in fiscal year 2022, we lost about $6 million providing those services during COVID. But I would wager to guess it was at a huge benefit to the community's health needs. And, you know, is that something that privately owned or corporate hospital would do? I don't think so. So I think there are a lot of benefits to a community-owned hospital and having a say in your healthcare. The crisis stabilization building that I just referenced, that nice building that's coming up, it will host it's actually going to be called the Aurora Behavioral Health Center, and it'll host a whole suite of behavioral health services that's slated to be done the middle of June, I believe, and then operations to begin after that.
Mr. Solomon Gross. You have something to
I
add?
just want to add something about having a community-based hospital. I go to a meeting once a month at the hospital with all of the different services that are provided through this community, with Housing First, with the Teal Steep project, the Glory Hall, CCFR, all of the navigators that we have in town. And it's all at the hospital, and it's all there together with emergency room doctors, with physicians that are hospitalists. And we talk about patients that are in need or crisis in our community and what we can do to help them. And I tell you something, you know, my life, I eat, drink, breathe healthcare. Don't tell my sister, because I should be talking movies too, but that's pretty much what I do. And to go to this once a month and just kind of see what we as a community, Juneau, Bartlett, all of us, CBJ, are doing to help these particular individuals is amazing. And I wish all of you guys could go to just one of these meetings, although they're highly confidential, but just to see what kind of services that we provide and how we work together as a team and collaborate to do this. So I just think that's one thing that a hospital like us is able to do, where I don't believe another hospital like that would be able to do that wasn't community owned.
Right. Thank you. Ms. Hughes Candies.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Two kind of questions for Mr. Muse. You said, I'm sort of with Ms. Gladaszewski in my confusion, because you said, you know, that's not a reasonable thing for us to be planning on into the future, but we've received it historically. And then you said we've quickly become larger than the city in terms of size of your budget. And then my second point of it almost, it sounds like conflicting information, is that you are you mentioned that it's really, it sounds like operating costs, but then every now and then I'm hearing about strategic initiatives, so it's not clear to me which. Could you just speak about that, clarify for me, because sometimes the answers I feel like I got, which were much more in depth and very helpful right now to questions from last week, are kind of different than the answers I feel like we got when we heard from the hospital before.
Who wants to get,
I want to
yes,
start
as you
this.
say, who's gonna take that one?
So thank you, Ms. Hughes Candy. So first of all, our strategic plan that we had worked with Mila Cosgrove and the board to do was before this new administration, new senior leadership team has come in. So as the board president, I was able to sit with our CEO and CFO, who was an interim at the time, and say that everything that we do right now, we have to use our strategic plan and put that into operational use. So if you go to any of our meetings, you're going to see that our agenda is who has ownership and which committee has ownership on taking on these strategic initiatives. So this strategic plan, Ms. Uscandy, is going to be updated again on June 3rd in this room all day long. So we're looking forward to doing that. But I believe that that's kind of the start of this, and I'm going to let Mr. Muse finish it as he goes into the financial piece.
Okay, go into it, but try and keep your answer brief. For spending quite a lot of time on this topic.
Understood. So to address the one-time versus recurring, you know, back when the hospital had a cash balance of a couple $1 million and maybe $20 million of expenditures, it made a lot of sense for the assembly to give $1 million a year. Now the hospital is $150 million in expenditures a year. We would like to get to a place, and I think the Assembly and Bartlett leadership agree on this. We would like to get to a place where Bartlett is funding its own operations and its own capital needs and its own debt. We're not there right now. So when I talk about a one-time cost or a one-time funding, I'm saying that with the understanding that looking out into the future, we're not building in recurring funding into our base financial projections. We're hoping to fund ourselves. We're not there yet. We could use some financial support, especially this year with where we're at, to help us fund. And again, to your second point, operations versus capital expenditures, we're losing money. We're losing $10 million a year through operations. So by using this funding for operations, you know, that saves more money for capital purchases in the future. Conversely, we could spend this money on capital strategic initiatives and lose. I guess my point being, it would be a net wash. You're helping us fund strategic initiatives going forward by funding operations.
All right, seeing no more questions. Mr. Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to fund Bartlett Regional Hospital $2 million from the general fund, and I would like to speak to that, Madam Mayor.
Let's see if there's objection first.
Ask for unanimous
Objection.
consent.
Okay, we see objection. Go ahead and speak to it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. They were able to speak to why we own our own hospital because it's an advantage to the community. We proved that during the pandemic, and seeing the response from their group tonight, I believe that they are in partnership with achieving the same goals as Juneau through keeping our community healthy. They're in a tough time right now. There's been a lot of growth in the medical sector. Keeping Bartlett financially healthy, helping them get on their feet again is the best thing that we could do for Bartlett. If we do not invest money in them now, then their deficits and their problems will be greater in the future. If we can help get them going in the right direction, it will save us money and time and resources in the long run. That's why I'm in favor of funding Bartlett at this time period. Thank you for the time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bryson. Ms. Wally, objective, sorry.
Objection for a clarifying question for the maker of the motion. You're proposing a additional allocation above the loan that was approved last meeting. Is that correct?
This would be aside from the loan that we passed at the last committee. That is correct.
And can I ask a question of the attorney then?
Go ahead.
I believe, and I could be wrong, that we did vote on this last week. We had a $2.5 million allocation. So just not sure if we're allowed to now vote on a $2 million allocation from general fund, but I might have the rules incorrect.
Attorney, but we did ask her and she said it's a different amount. So it would okay. But Ms. Where did it happen? Ms. Lane, there's you are. You moved on me.
So because it is a new motion, it's a new motion with a new amount. It can go for a vote, but that would be on top of the loan because that one hasn't been rescinded. So this would be an additional motion.
Anything further? Do you maintain your objection? Ms. Glaszewski.
I could be supportive of this motion, but not in addition to the loan. And I don't think that they probably want the loan. Mr. Bryson.
Mr. Bryson.
I was doing this $2 million because I don't believe that Bartlett is going to accept the $2.5 million loan. So I was going to do this instead.
Ms. Lane, how do we take back the loan? What's the proper, what do we have to do that?
Go ahead, Ms. Lane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The proper way would be for somebody to make a motion to rescind that motion.
And that takes,
gave the loan, and that would be 6 votes.
okay, so, thank you.
We have Ms. Hale, then Ms. Hughes Candies.
Okay,
Ms. Hale, you might want to get rid of your video because you are frozen. And that might allow the voice to go through. Ms. Hale, we cannot hear you at all. Whoops. Ms. Hughes Candies, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I believe I'm in order to speak to my objection. Is that where we are right now?
That's where you are, although I don't know if Ms. Hale is still
Okay.
trying to talk.
I think,
Hang on
ahead.
just a second. Ms. Hale, Ms. Hughes Candies, just 1 second. Madam
Okay,
Clerk,
I'll
do
try
we
it
still
one-
have Ms. Hale on there? Yes. Go ahead, Ms. Hale, sorry. Ms. Hale, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. Whose speaker is she on? Okay, how come we didn't?
She is on, it appears that she's connected online.
Okay, Ms. Hale, we still cannot hear you. I'm going to go to Ms. Hughes Candies and have you try again. Ms. Hughes Candies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will say that I object strongly to this motion. Respectfully, I'm going to start out by saying that if you don't know why it's good that we own our own hospital, that is a good place to start. And I do say that respectfully, Mr. Bryson, but I believe that we are all familiar with the benefits of having a municipal hospital and what they do for the community and the fact that we are partners. So I don't believe that that is a reason that is suddenly making me feel like that we need to add an additional $2 million, because just now you said, no, that we're going to leave the loan and you're going to give the 2 million. And then you just changed it to, they don't want the loan. I'm going to give them 2 million in addition to that. So the motion is confusing and we need to get clear on that. I'm going to say if they don't have interest in a no interest loan, that tells me a little bit about their financial situation that I don't think matches up with the degree of need, because we're talking about a no interest loan from a municipal hospital. So this is different than if they were a private hospital in terms of how that's reflected on their, I believe you called it your income statement. Your income statement is different for a municipal hospital in terms of what they would be doing when they're looking at something like doing a big project. This assembly is going to be involved anyway, because the city's going to have to okay that. So I just want to point that out. I appreciate Mr. Solomon Gross reminding me of the date for the upcoming strategic retreat, because we're hearing a lot about strategic initiatives, which are vague for my liking. So I believe that providing this money now, prior to them having that meeting on those strategic initiatives, we're funding something that there's not a plan for at this point. In the jumping back and forth between its operating fund and, or, you know, it's good because we might purchase a capital strategic, that is not a solid ground to provide city funds for me. I also want to point out the amount of information we received from the hospital board and the way that we received it, the depth of the sophistication of the numbers we've looked at. We had the school board jump through hoops of fire comparatively for a 2.5 million loan when we know that school districts all over the state are underfunded? And there was no question about that. And now by 2 oral presentations, we're ready to give the hospital board 2 million. From my perspective, when the answers are still not 1,000% clear. There's no question that Bartlett Regional Hospital is our partner in this. This is our hospital. This is our enterprise. I appreciate all the answers that were provided, but I am going to speak strongly against this. And I'm also going to point out, I'm happy to have our enterprise here to answer questions because they weren't before. But we did take a vote on this as a full complement of 9 people, and it failed 6-3. So I don't love having this vote or having this topic while we now have 7 people. And I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes Candies. Ms. Hale, hopefully we have you now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm having battery issues, and so I had to go between computer and phone and back to computer. So I'll give it my best. I missed some of what Ms. Hughes Candies had to say, and I apologize for that, Ms. Hughes Candies. I would like to remind the Assembly that the hospital initially asked for $5 million, and they gave us very good reason why they needed that $5 million in their ask. I also think that it really does not behoove us to fault anyone for not being prepared at the last meeting, because they had no warning that it was going to switch from a grant to a loan. I mean, they had no warning, and so they couldn't prepare at all. I will also point out that the hospital is working from a strategic plan. Mr. Gross explained that they are working from a strategic plan, and they have a meeting to update that strategic plan on June 3rd. So they routinely update their strategic plan, which is what you're supposed to do when you work from a strategic plan. I can't emphasize strongly enough the importance of this grant to the hospital. I wish it were at that $5 million level. They really do need it. Hospitals across the country, local hospitals across the country, have had a really hard time recovering from COVID. Lots of them are closing. We don't want that to happen to our hospital. I just very strongly support, if they needed the $2 million grant and a $2.5 million loan, which maybe they don't need that loan, I would support that. They need the money. It's not like they don't need the money. They have to recover. The other point I wanted to make, as we know, Bartlett has been through a really difficult time in terms of CEOs for years now. It's been very, very difficult as we've gone through CEOs, acting CEOs, etc. We are entering a stable period now, and the best thing we can do is support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. So we have a motion and objection.
I'll just speak briefly, Madam Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
I have additional information than I had the last time. I think that we assisted the Juneau School District when they had some budget issues with $2.5 million. This is a similar situation to me now that I understand more of what they just said. So I think they could use this assistance right now. It's a vital the cost of failure of a hospital would be tremendous. I'm not saying we're close to failure or by any means. It's just it pushes me over the edge to grant $2 million to the hospital. Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and we have objection. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor Weldon. On the motion to provide $2 million in funding to Bartlett Regional Hospital funded from the general fund, Assemblymember Bryson,
Yes.
Assemblymember Hughes Candies,
No.
Assemblymember Hale,
Yes.
Assemblymember Wall,
No.
Assemblymember Gladysevsky,
Yes.
Assemblymember Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Weldon.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 ayes, 2 nays.
All right, thank you to the Bartlett folks, and we're gonna move on to capital improvement plan and 1% sales tax allocation. If we get to this section before we take a break, that would be great. So. Hello, Ms. Kester and Mr. Broham.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be before you this evening. I'm going to bring your attention to page 85 of your packet from the May 10th meeting. You might not have that in front of you, so I'm just going to give you a quick summary of it. This memo speaks to some of the challenges that engineering has had with bid prices coming in significantly higher than estimates. You guys know this because we've had to go to you asking for transfers and for extra appropriations. The reason we put this memo in the packet is because as you make decisions on large capital projects, large investments, you really need to understand that we're still in a very volatile climate for construction projects, and things are costing more than we want them to, significantly more than even inflation. So the memo speaks to a couple of recent projects where the bids came in 1.7 to 1.8 times the estimate. And keep in mind, this is a recent estimate. So we're no longer talking about estimates from pre-COVID that really aren't anticipating current needs. We're talking about estimates that are just not anywhere close to what those costs actually come in at. We reached out to the contractor community. We interviewed 7 different contracting firms, and there's a really great summary in here that I will not bore you with, but for people like me, chief engineer, and I'm sure city manager Watt, these are really interesting details on things that we can do both internally and as an assembly to, help hedge against some of these inflation costs. And there are things that the assembly can do. Alternative procurement is one of them. We've worked with you to approve 3 different alternative procurement methodologies by ordinance. Looking at project labor agreements is another thing that we're working on because labor is a huge driver of cost. The private sector market is just gangbuster right now. And so basically we are being forced to make decisions to sometimes cancel projects. Eagle Valley Center is a great example of a project that we canceled and are revisiting scope to be able to have a budget to address that project. Other projects like the Outer Drive Lift Station that came in 1.7 times our estimate, we have to ask the assembly for funds because that's a critical piece of sewer infrastructure. So as we look at these cost inflations and this volatility, we're either going to be coming to the assembly for additional appropriations, or we're going to be forced to make really difficult decisions between projects and prioritize projects that save future CBJ operating dollars, projects that have immediate health safety needs. And so I just wanted to give you that, really scare you before you go appropriating the CIP. The memo in your packet speaks to vertical construction. In horizontal construction, usually a little bit more dependable because we kind of know what the cost of that is. I had Chief Engineer Bohan look at the cost increase in projects over the last 5 years, and he took a project downtown, kind of a comparable project, nothing's apples to apples, downtown in the valley, and both those projects over the last 5 years are almost 200% more expensive, so twice as expensive as they were 5 years ago. And the amount of funding that we allocate for streets has increased maybe by 20%, probably because of inflation and other things. So again, this memo is just to give you a little bit of a forewarning that we will be continuing to come to you with these difficult decisions about canceling, postponing, or transferring additional funds to projects because our dollars just are not going as far as we want them to. And we have this volatility where our estimates are just really difficult. And there's reasons for those that we've explored in the memo. So I'll stop talking. Happy to answer any questions on the memo before we launch into the CIP and the 1%.
Any questions on the update on construction cost escalation? Ms. Ladishevsky.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Custer, for explaining. I appreciate all of this, and you're going to have to move money around. But I get that seems clear. But there's not a list of you're going to move X to Y. Are you asking us to change the CIP to say, I don't quite understand. if you're asking for move $1 million from X to Y, or you're just saying we're going to move $1 million from X to Y because we have to. Where are the specifics about the changes? I mean, I see the shore power one, but are there others that you're anticipating changing?
Ms. Kester.
Thank you, Assemblymember Gladysevsky. I don't have a specific ask right now because I'm forecasting the future based on our historical experience. So we're hopeful that we have estimates that are accurate, and when we bring you those bid awards, they're accurate. But what has been happening is that we've had to request additional funds or change the scope to be able to move forward with those projects. So I have examples in this memo of projects that had that experience, and I will continue to come to the assembly as we bid those projects and experience that volatility in the market. So there's no specific ask in here. It's more for your awareness.
So
Follow up, Ms.
so the
Glasgow.
CIP resolution 33016, you're not asking for any changes for. Okay, that's what I was not clear if you were.
She's just saying be prepared.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Kester. Passenger fee CIP amendment.
So if I could just back up a little bit to just the CIP and the 1% in general. And
Okay,
then I
sorry.
think I'll hand passenger fees over to tourism manager Pierce. You do have on page 124 of your May 3rd packet, the voter approved 1% sales tax project list and a schedule that we will be using for planning purposes to schedule those projects. And I just want to make you aware of this. While you're not approving anything but this year's actual appropriations, and it's a bit of a shell game to try to fit everything in over the course of 5 years. And so we have made these projections based on consultations with the departments. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. And there was conversation in PWFC on the 1%. There were some questions. I think we answered those, but I want to make sure that the assembly has the opportunity to ask any questions on that schedule.
Any questions?
Madam Mayor, this document's also on page
Yep,
9 of.
Page 9, sorry, I fit, everybody found it. Any questions on the 1% sales tax project schedule? Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I guess I could do this here at the CIP resolution. My only comment is the Waterfront Museum, and I've spoken with the manager and Ms. Kester about this. I think the first thing, I mean, I realize we chose a name for that project and it's fine. I feel like a critical first step in that is determining, is that actually what the public and the assembly want to go in that location? I think that maybe was an issue when it was first pitched, but I just want to make sure that that question is kind of asked first, besides we say, oh, Waterfront Museum going there. Thank you.
Okay, for the timing purposes. Mr. Watt.
Was the Waterfront Museum in the CI, in the?
Mayor, just on responding to Assembly Member Smith.
You have to speak up, Mr. Watt. I don't know why your mic's not working again.
Thank you, Mayor. Just responding to Assembly Member Smith's comment. A first step of that museum project would be scoping out the details and confirming public process, including location. And we would look at the language that went in the sales tax to the voters. And, we would essentially be starting a new project. It would all be on the table.
Any further questions, Mr. Smith, on that?
Another Waterfront Museum made it into 1%. Yeah, it did.
Any further questions? Okay, moving on, Ms. Kester.
Thank you, Mayor Weldon. At this point, I'd love to entertain any questions on the capital improvement plan in general. I know the Public Works and Facilities Committee has reviewed that document. You have had it for quite some time and it's been through public process, but if there are any questions on that, we have Chief Engineer Bohan and I ready to answer those.
Any questions on the capital improvement project? Mr. Smith.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I guess if we are proposing changes, we will be doing that under action item 6. Is that correct? Later in the agenda.
Actually, it was item D on number 4. Assembly amendments. But if you'd like to make one now, you certainly can.
Okay, so we're not going to be moving, I wouldn't be taking action at the CIP on 6A, the one that says final FY24 revised budget decision, CIP resolution.
You can make them at
306.
both places, but
Very good. I will wait till. then.
okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. All right, so we're done with you and we'll go to passenger fee CIP. Welcome, Ms. Pierce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
So for the passenger fee CIP amendment, Mr. Rogers came to a group of us with some issues with timing with the bond bank for the $5 million bond that this body approved a few months ago. Basically, the bond wouldn't be available to us before July 1st because we didn't make any money off of our facilities during COVID, and we needed enough time to lapse between not making any money and collecting passenger fees again for technical reasons with the bond bank. In that process, we started discussing the merits of just self-funding the $5 million, doing $5 million in the passenger fee budget for the Seawalk, and then $5 million for shore power, recognizing that both of those projects are large projects and we're likely going to need to bond for them anyway when we're ready for construction. So rather than issuing this small incremental bond, we recommended having a smaller amounts to both projects, 5 million each for kind of design planning on the Seawalk, transformers on shore power, and then bonding for those larger projects once we have a cost estimate and a plan. It felt cleaner to staff. So that's what we're in front of you for.
Any questions on the shore power? Excuse me, the amendment to the passenger fee with the shore power. Ms. Gladysevsky.
Thank you. This is for Mr. Rogers. When we did the $10 million vote some months ago, we obviously thought that was the right thing to do at the time. And did we just had more time, or, I mean, I don't object to the current proposal, but it concerns me that we were ready to go and now we're changing our minds and maybe we just had more time to think about it. But could you explain?
Assemblymember
Mr.
Glasgow,
Rogers.
I'm not sure what you meant by $10 million. There was always a plan to issue $5 million of
5
bonds.
million.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we just, in the course of working through this with our financial advisor and bond counsel, we discovered that the technical default against the previous bond was going to prevent us from moving forward until such time that that technical default was no longer stopping us. That will resolve itself on the 1st of July. At the same time, for the reasons that we've discussed and that are in the memo, it didn't really make sense to take on $5 million of debt in a year where we had $10 million of very flexible current revenue. I will say this, and Manager Watt and I were talking about this challenge today. We do have debt cost issuance, costs for issuing debt. $1 million, about 1% is a pretty good number for debt issuance costs. As we get bond issues increasingly lower than $10 million, that cost of issuance rises to as much as 2 or 3 or 4%. For example, the issuance cost of the $6.6 million bond for the Parks bond cost us about $180,000. So taking into consideration those costs of issuance, a bond as small as $5 million is not particularly advantageous.
Right. I mean, just follow up. The way you explain it now makes complete sense. I'm only concerned that some months ago, we got argued the other way and nothing happened other than we thought about it more, I guess. I mean, the July 1, we could wait for July 1 to get money. I mean, but I'm just concerned about the original logic. That's all. Never mind. I'll stop.
Any further questions on this one? All right, we need a motion on this one, Ms. Gladysevsky.
I would, thank you, Madam Mayor, move to accept the passenger fee amendments regarding shore power.
Thank you for that. Items 4C, Mr. Watt, are you dealing with this?
Thank you, Mayor. You have a memo in your packet dated May 4 titled General Obligation Bonds slash NCH or New City Hall. I'll briefly speak to that memo and then briefly speak to what we're trying to accomplish tonight. So tonight, we're really just working on the CIP and perhaps scheduling of a later discussion about whether or not to proceed with the project, and if so, how. The memo reminds you that I've recommended 10 million in funding to the new City Hall project in the CIP. Whether you accept that or not, or amend that is on the table for tonight. All the challenges is that we have faced with our existing facility and rental facilities continue. We continue to pay rent. Unfortunately, this week in the Marine View building, we were visited by OSHA inspectors because of the failure of the building owner to maintain the plumbing. Apparently, we had employees complain. So we got an OSHA inspection. We're likely to get a fine from OSHA, and the building owner is likely to get a fine. So that probably helps really explain how serious those issues are. We'll look to recoup any fine we get through our lease agreement with that building owner, but it just explains the situation that we're in, I think, quite clearly. We have a significant amount of debt capacity available this year, hence the title of the memo, GO Bonds / New City Hall. In the event that we do not move forward with the City Hall project on this year's ballot, I would encourage you to look at other municipal needs. We have a lot of municipal facility needs. It is a very, I think, advantageous for us to work on some of our needs. I'm obviously a proponent of the City Hall project, but absent that, I am a proponent of taking care of all of our facilities. I've given you reasons why it may be advantageous to proceed this year or not. I'm obviously better at making the pro argument than the con argument. So anybody that wants to flesh out either side of those arguments, I will certainly take no offense to that, but I think I just want to put those on the table. We also have included in your packet, the Assembly requested information from an outside party. So we contracted with Ricker and Associates to do an inventory of facilities that could be available on the market, and that is in your packet. I don't think there are any silver bullets in there, but that's an outside view for you. And so the action for tonight is work on the CIP amended or not, and consider picking up this question of City Hall and or GO bonds at a very near-term committee of the whole or finance committee. We'll have to lay out proper timing for the municipal ballot in the fall. I think Mr. Rogers might have.
Mr. Watt, we're not going to talk about that tonight.
No.
We're going to talk about that at another meeting, whether we do that or not. We're just sticking with the 10 million tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And what I'm trying to encourage you to do is understand the timing
Okay, thank you.
of the meetings that you have so that you can put a question on the fall ballot. And I think Mr. Rogers might be able to help you with the timing, but that's all I have on this topic.
I've just, Mayor Weldon, I'll just note that the clerk's office has provided us a calendar for potential bond issuances on the October ballot. Those bond issuances bond ordinances do need to be adopted by the Assembly by the last meeting in July, which means they need to be introduced by the first meeting in July. There are two regular Assembly meetings in July. I believe one is the 10th and one is the 31st. So an ordinance needs to be introduced by the 10th and on public hearing the 31st to appear on the October ballot, which doesn't give you a lot of time to work through a process on one or more general obligation bonds.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Rogers, when does the Assembly need to actually direct staff if we wish to, introduce, anyway, what is the meeting that should happen at?
Thank you, Assemblymember Smith. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but we do obviously have, we will put the issue of general obligation bonding on the Assembly Finance Committee calendar for the first Wednesday in June.
June 7th.
June 7th, thank you. There are two meetings, two committee of the whole meetings coming up, which could also be venues for continuing that conversation on a policy basis. I think, I don't presume what you would want to do, but I think that this idea probably needs committee work, getting us to introduction on July 10th.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I do have a question on New City Hall. Can the project cost less money?
The short answer is yes, and we'll be talking about that on June 7th. So we're not going to talk about that tonight. Tonight is not the decision of whether we're doing it or not, or any other questions. Tonight is about the 10 million set aside. So with that, we need a motion, Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not sure we do need a motion. I believe City Hall's already on the CIP. Would it be helpful
to change some?
I have an amendment to make.
That's why I just said
to the CIP.
So just use it as a motion.
Just point of word amendment here. If we're gonna amend the CIP, that's on 6A. I thought we were gonna amend, or are you gonna try to amend it?
What I was going to amend specifically the City Hall line item. Madam Mayor made it seem like we could do that now or at the CIP point. My amendment is very small and it may be semantics, but currently in the CIP, this line item is listed as new City Hall. I would like to amend it so it just says City Hall. I am on board with pursuing a new City Hall and trying to do that, but I do not want to get ahead of the voters. And so my proposal would just ensure that if the voters aren't on board with a new City Hall, that this funding can be used to work on this City Hall.
Any objection to that? Seeing none, that amendment works. All right, do you want to do your amendment now, Mr. Smith, or do you want to wait till 6A?
Wait till 6A.
All right, with that, we are going to take a break at 7:03, so we'll come back at 7:10. And we're on number 5, passenger fee proposal. Do we have to do anything on this? Is there any questions on this? Is there any presentation on this, or are we just moving it? Mr. Rogers.
Mayor Weldon, I think this is ready for you to move. I think the Assembly has already made all the necessary changes. All we need is an affirmative motion to for the Assembly to adopt the manager's passenger fee proposal as amended.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And if it's a longer, complicated answer, we can deal with it offline. Can passenger fees be used to support the hospital due to increased, passenger, whatever, patient flow?
That's a good question, Mr. Smith, but I think we're already using that as for our general thing. But Mr. Watt, you're eager to answer that question.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the short answer is no. Our understanding of constitutional law, our settlement agreement with the industry, absent somebody making a new argument and negotiation with the industry, in the short term, the answer is no.
He's going to the bar.
He's about ready to get on an appointment.
He's in the lounge.
Ms. Hughes, we're watching you secretly moving. All right, Mr. Smith, did you get answer to your question? All right. Anything further on this? Ms. Gladys motion.
I move that we send the passenger fee proposal as amended to the full Assembly.
Any objection? Seeing none, that motion passes. So that brings us to item 6, final FY24 revised budget decisions. CIP resolution 3016. Is that you, Mr. Watt, or Mr. Rogers? Or are we bringing Ms. Kester back?
Mayor Weldon, I think unless there are assembly amendments, it is you are in a position now to move the CIP resolution to the full assembly.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Rogers, would you mind putting up that updated chart showing fund balance and all that kind of stuff? And so just so I'm reading that correctly, after the actions we've taken during this budget meeting, this budget process, we have 9.5 approximately million in fund balance.
11 point something.
We just did 2.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Assemblymember Smith. So just a little overview here of how this is working with the manager's proposed mill rate of 10.28. There is with all the decisions you've made tonight and everything we know, you would have a $9.3 million unrestricted fund balance at the end of FY24, assuming a $1 million lapse.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Smith.
May I
Oh,
just follow
Ms.
up?
Gladysevsky.
You said 9.3. It's, I said, where's the 0.3? I thought it was 9.9. Gee, with just $2 million less than what's on there because we just gave $2 million to the hospital, right? Am I reading something wrong?
The thing that might also be happening here is that there is $325,000 of cost that you've added to the budget that is not paid for with the 10.28 mill rate.
Right, but I thought that was already, you said this reflects all the things we have already done. So I thought that was in there.
Just let me.
I'm just looking at the, you
Okay.
know.
We'll
the
give Mr.
page
Rogers a
3.
couple minutes to figure that out.
Yeah. Page 3 of our packet currently says 11.9. So if that really is,
Give him a few minutes.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so Assemblymember Lashevsky, on the bottom of page 3, you will see down in the very orange bar, final year end projected unrestricted fund balance 11.9.
Right.
333. And now the exact same spot here is 9.933, $2 million less.
That's what I thought. 11.3, so, or 9.3, and I was asking where the extra.
I apologize. That may have just been me misspeaking.
Got it. I'm good.
All right.
I got it. I just.
Thank you, Ms. Gladysevsky, for clearing that up.
Follow along. I just want to follow.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we reduce the new city hall appropriation by $2 million. And if I can speak to that.
Go ahead.
Very good. We added over the course of the budget process, well, actually $4 million in non-recurring expenditures. 2 million to the hospital that we did tonight, and then over the course of the other things, at least based on the math that I'm seeing, about another, actually, maybe it's 1.4. Excuse me, it's 1.4, so 3.4. I want to reduce that amount. We're going to have a new manager in the fall. I'm hoping for some investments, continued investments in housing. I think $8 million still makes a big enough impact on or a change of a budget, a change of a bond question should that go to the voters. I just want to preserve some cash. And that's why I'm offering this amendment. It kind of trues up some of the one-time spending we've done. And again, I think still helps us, well, should the assembly decide to pursue the goal of, a new city hall in that bond question. I think it still moves us in that and does not alter that trajectory at all. Thank you.
Any objection? Ms. Hale, are you objecting?
Yeah, I object, and can I speak to my objection briefly?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. I object because I appreciate the desire to free up cash, but I will point out, as I pointed out before, that we have significant amounts of cash in our restricted fund balance, and we still have preserved quite a bit of cash from through the process that we've been through. So that's my reason.
Well,
And
thank you.
City Hall needs it.
Any further objection, Mr. Bryson, Ms. Wall? Then I'll speak.
I see where Mr. Smith is going, and we're just dealing with so many millions of dollars. I just had one question for Mr. Smith because I can see both sides of this coin. Would the maker of the motion be amenable if I did a amendment to just reduce that by 1 million. I could get behind it and support it. It's a genuine effort on the assembly we always ask to cut what we can, but Ms. Hale is also correct that we have a desperate need for a city hall. That would be the amendment I would make, just shave $1 million off and not 2, and that would win my support for this motion.
Okay, we have amendment by Mr. Bryson to make it $9 million to City Hall. Any objection?
Object.
Mr. Smith.
I just want to reduce it by 2, so, but we don't need to talk about it further. Thanks.
Okay, I'll object also. I don't think we should reduce it by any, so I'll say no to both the amendment and the main motion, but I'll talk to that when I get there. So anyway, you have a motion, Ms. Spiegel, and objection. I'm not seeing any other hands. Please call roll for the 9 million.
Thank you, Mayor Weldon. Assemblymember Smith made an original motion to reduce the new city hall appropriation by 2 million. Assemblymember Bryson has amended that motion to reduce it by only 1 million instead. Assemblymember Bryson,
Yes.
Assemblymember Smith,
No.
Assemblymember Gladysevsky,
Yes.
Assemblymember Wall,
Yes.
Assemblymember Hughes Scandies,
Yes.
Assemblymember Hale,
No.
Mayor Weldon.
No.
Motion fails, 4 ayes, 3 nays.
All right, we're going back to the main motion, and we had Ms. Wall that still wanted to talk, and then I wanted to talk. Ms. Wall, do you still have anything?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just quickly, I don't want to have to go back to the voters twice or more times. So I would say we send it and put in the full amount.
So I will just speak briefly for the main reasons, as Ms. Wall and Ms. Hale said. So I just think 10 million is a good number. And if we wanted to save money, we should have done it earlier. Anyway, so back to the main motion. We have a motion.
She's got.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Hughes Scandies, I missed your hand.
No, it's fine. Same idea as you guys. We're gonna sweeten it. Let's sweeten it. 10 is a good solid number.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes Scandies. So let's go to vote.
Thank you, Mayor Weldon. On the motion to reduce the new city hall appropriation by $2 million, Assemblymember Smith,
Yes.
Assemblymember Hale,
No.
Assemblymember Bryson,
No.
Assemblymember Wall,
No.
Assemblymember Gladysevsky,
Yes.
Assemblymember Hughes Scandies,
No.
Mayor Weldon.
No.
Motion fails, 2 ayes, 5 nays.
All right, any other amendments to the CIP?
How did it lose with 5?
2 ayes, 5 nays.
Oh.
See, you're way down there, so it's hard to hear. Any further amendments to the CIP resolution? Seeing none, Madam Ms. Gladysevsky.
Yep, I would move this resolution 3016 to the full assembly.
Any
As
objection?
amended.
As amended.
With what?
Any objection? Seeing none, so moved. All right. Next, we'll go to the mill levy ordinance. Any of the staff want to chat with this? Mr. Rogers?
Mayor Weldon, I'm just gonna get us zoomed in here on this little widget. So that as you or anybody wants to experiment with mill rate and see the impact, we can just look at that together and not be questioning the math. So I have it here on the screen. We can work with this. I'll get it to be as big as I can.
Okay, Bill, before we go to a motion, does anybody want to throw a number out there just to see what it is, the widget? Okay,
Could you make it even bigger?
we may have to move over there.
Yeah, thank you.
So I would like to do that. So Mr. Rogers, would you put 10.18, 10.08? One at a time, I'm sure.
Mayor Weldon, this is 10.18, which has the assembly decrease property tax by $650,000 and has a recurring an operating deficit of just under $1 million. And just to keep score here, so the FY23 projected general government unrestricted fund balance at the end of current year would be 28 million, and the manager's proposed budget that would be reduced down to 13.7 million. And with this mill rate and other assembly actions, the projected general fund end of year balance would be 9.28 million.
Ms. Gladys-Shevsky.
Okay, Mr. Rogers, you've when we looked at the other sheet, it was the the projected year-end fund balance was before we did anything. I mean, all the things we did, not changing the mill rate, was 9.9. Why does it say
Because we
9.3?
switched it to 10.918 instead of 10.28.
Right, but it should go down. Oh, I see. It went down by 600,000. I can't see that far. Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, that's what I needed to see. Thank you, sorry.
Okay, and then could we see, unless you have a question on this?
Just gonna ask for number 2.
Okay, could we do 10.08?
Mayor Weldon, at 10.08, the assembly would reduce total property taxes by 1.3 million, resulting in a recurring deficit of 1.6 million after the lapse. And the FY24 forecast year and unrestricted general fund balance would be 8.6 million.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Smith, do you have a number to throw out
Could you
there?
put in 10.0?
Thank you. I don't know that you need me to read all these to you, but that would be a recurring deficit of $2.1 million and a year-end FY24 fund balance of 8.1 million. All of those numbers are after a $1 million lapse.
Mr. Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I ask a question before I say my number? I thought I had seen somewhere that 10.17 was the lowest mill rate in the information that was provided to us. I do not recall the time span of that.
Well, I don't have that. Mr. Bryce or Mr. Rogers or.
Do we know what the lowest mill rate in Juneau's history or how far
You got it
we'd
in
have
the
to go back to
finance
get to?
packet.
Yeah, thank you. Assemblymember Bryson, we do have that number somewhere in here, and if we can find it, I will bring it up.
Ms. Spiegel's looking for it. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Rogers, historically, the city has kept the mill rate relative, or based on this graph, the mill rate has stayed very constant. I mean, bouncing up and down by 1/10 of a mil, give or take for the last 15 years. But it can be, it can be adjusted annually. I mean, we can, if we have significant property tax revenue, we could adjust it down. And if then property tax flattens, if assessments flatten or reduce, we could push it back up. Is that correct?
Thank you, Assemblymember Smith. Mayor Weldon. First, to Assemblymember Bryson's question, a page in your budget book, page DOC 13, does have the historic mill rates. 10.17 is the low water mark in 2007. So you are correct.
Could I see the number 10.16 then?
Yep,
That's not what.
so to answer Assemblymember Smith's question, yes, and I wrote a memo on this a couple of years ago just about my sort of academic interest in what seems to be a change in philosophy that happened in the 2010, 2012, where CBJ arrived at a total mill rate of about 10.5, and it hewed narrowly in a range for since, obviously with the economy going up and down, property values going up and down, it stayed in that channel versus the time prior to that, where it would appear that the philosophy was that as property values went up and down and the economy changed and needs changed, the mill rate would float. So there's an inflection point where we moved from a mill rate that went up and down all the time to a mill rate that mostly stayed the same all the time. I wasn't here for any of that. I can only observe it in the numbers and speculate about why. I think that certainly when I inherited this job from my predecessor, the working philosophy was the mill rate will be the same as last year's mill rate unless somebody has a really good reason to change it. This is the first year that the manager and I worked together to calculate a mill rate that paid for recurring expenditures with recurring revenue after a reasonable lapse. Part of the reason that I might not have gotten there faster is that the pandemic made that kind of consideration virtually impossible. The manager, if you remember, proposed a 1 mil increase to the mill rate years ago during the pandemic in the interest of trying to mitigate really extraordinary revenue losses as a result of the pandemic. I think it is worth realizing that the assembly rejected that. At the time, thinking that during a pandemic, when there was a sense of a public emergency, was the wrong time to raise taxes. You know, and I only say that because there's never a great time to raise taxes. I think the general economic theory is that you're better off to raise taxes when the economy is growing and strong, and better to reduce those tax revenues when the economy is waning and weak. Anyways, that's just context. But yes, there was an inflection point where we went from a mill rate that went up and down in response to conditions to a mill rate that mostly stayed pretty flat.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Rogers, do you have on hand what the growth in sales tax was, you know, from FY23 to FY24, the growth of the operating budget? And I mean, obviously there's some things that we voted for, the wage and health benefit costs and that type of stuff, as well as a number of things, you know, fleet replacement and new positions and stuff. I'm just trying to I'm trying to wrap my mind, and I've done some calculations too, but I probably trust your math more than mine. Yeah.
Assemblymember Smith, if you go to this section of the budget summary, which you can see on page 3 of tonight's packet, you can see sales tax growth over the 23 adopted budget, 9.7 million, property tax growth at the manager's proposed mill rate over FY23 adopted. And those numbers are there. Yes, those numbers. Yes, right there. I'm sorry. I've moved us up one too many levels. My apologies. Let me get in the right place. Sorry to get the screen in the wrong place. So these are the increases to revenue that the manager baked into the manager's budget. So $9.7 million of sales tax growth that we forecast. Obviously, that's not a rate you set. It's a 5% rate. Property tax growth that's based on the manager's introduced budget of 10.28 mils, and then a number of other ancillary revenue changes. But yes, 9.7 million sales tax growth over the prior year.
Very good. Thank you. When I did the math on that, and if sales tax increased by 9.7 million, that's a 17% increase. If, you know, predictions can be wrong. If sales tax only increased by 8 million, I saw that as a 14% increase. So those were the numbers that I had. I guess the manager's budget over to FY23, the math I did, 10.6 million over FY23. I got that as a 6.2% increase. So just trying to show or mention that the growth in sales tax is, I mean, there's significant growth in all the different pieces of the budget, including revenue, but growth in sales tax was, you know, if it goes to forecast, would be 70% increase. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hale, I see your hand raised. Do you want to put a number in the little widget?
Madam Mayor, I didn't think I had my hand raised. I guess I'm not operating this very well. I have a motion when we're ready, but I don't need to put a number in the widget because I saw a bunch of good numbers in that widget.
Okay, I'll do 10.20.
I don't know if you wanted me to just say what's on the screen so people can hear it, but that is yields an $845,000 recurring deficit after a $1 million lapse and yields you a year-end FY24 fund balance of 9.4 million after the same lapse.
Right.
Mayor.
Ms. Gladys.
Just one, Mr. Bryson asked about the lowest mill rate. I have a spreadsheet that you gave me that that goes way back that might be wrong, but there were lower mill rates in the 70s. But if it's correct, but that was, 50 years ago.
Right. And Mr. Smith, you mentioned we had increased revenue. We also have an increased expenditure.
Right, and that was my point in
Okay.
comparing the budget growth, is that the budget increased by 6.2%, but sales taxes would, if according to forecast, would increase 17. Mr. Rogers, a 10.2, I'm just basing off the budget book on the DOC 11 document. A 10.2 mill rate would increase property tax revenue by 9.1%. It's based on what I'm seeing there.
Yeah, Assemblymember Smith is looking at page DOC 11, which does, this does not factor in any of the decisions that you've made. But it does give you various mill rates and talks about how much property taxes have gone up year over year.
Are we all just being contemplative or?
No,
myself?
we're looking at numbers here. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Thank
No,
you for
we're-
asking that, Alicia.
Yeah, no, we're just all looking at numbers back and forth. All right. No further questions. So we're going to go to you, Ms. Hale. Take a stab at it.
Yeah, and I will be taking a stab because I have lost my computer and I'm on my phone. So I think we're on the mill rate, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and in the mill rate, well, let me do the motion and then I'll can be corrected and I'd like to speak to it. So I move that the total mill rate be reduced from 10.28 to 10.16. And I'd like to speak to that motion if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. A part of that motion, and perhaps I need to make it as part of the motion, is I believe that Mr. Rogers' calculator showed that would end up with a $1.1 million deficit. If you would put that in there, Mr. Rogers, that would be great. Yes, 1.1 million. And part of my motion would be that instead of putting $4 million into the budget reserve this year, we actually put $3 million into the budget reserve, and then that would free up $1 million back to the general fund. And if I may speak further to my motion, I've been working with Mr. Dan Robinson of the Department of Labor and with Mr. Rogers and Ms. Spiegel as I'm trying to understand how has property tax, what the inflation on property tax has been, and how that is relative to the inflation on everything else. And the CPI for 2020 to 2023 is 16.1% inflation, and a 10.16 property tax or mill rate would make that for a median assessed value home, that would make that almost identical to that 16, the inflation in that 3-year period of time, that would make it almost identical to the inflation that's actually occurred. And my reasoning is that, yes, I am completely sympathetic that property taxes will be going up, but everything is going up. And just as households are experiencing inflation, so is city government. It's in different areas. City government doesn't buy food generally, but buys supplies. So unless we want to reduce our services dramatically, I believe we need to have a mill rate that both does something to reduce the total property tax, but also make sure we can pay for state services or city services.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. So let me get this correct. Your motion is 10.16 and take $1 million out of the money going into the restricted budget reserve to help ease the pain, so to speak.
Madam Mayor. I
That's
don't
correct.
really think those are, I don't necessarily know if that's in order to have those as a combined motion. I mean, I'd love to have, done a change and said reduce it from City Hall. I don't know if that's in order either. It kind of seems like we're setting the mill rate in one ordinance and we're deciding on the budget in another one. So,
And I'm fine with that.
sorry, I just,
Go ahead, Ms. Gladysevsky.
I mean, I think it's in order. We're doing the budget and I don't know, that the lawyer can opine, but I don't see why it's not in order.
Yes, I mean, she has to come up with a lost revenue somewhere.
Yeah, so
Well-
if you have a different way to do it.
I mean, technically, I think she's amending the mill rate ordinance is what we're actually doing. Though it's all on the same spreadsheet. I think technically we're amending the mill rate ordinance. I think that is different than amending the budget ordinance or amending the CIP. I mean, we can get Ms. Lane.
Well,
I would
Lane,
actually probably say we
Ms.
should
Lane.
just divide the question, but I don't even think we have to do that. I just don't think they're actually.
So I think it's in order because she has to come up with where she's getting the revenue fund, but we'll listen, here,
I
Ms. from
agree with
Ms.
the mayor
Lane.
as well.
Madam Mayor, just on that last bit, she doesn't. I mean, we could drive it into deficit and I mean, it'd be probably better management and things to, anyway.
Ms. Lane, do we need to take a couple-minute break for you? 2 minutes. So for those on Zoom, we're giving the attorney 2 minutes.
Thank you.
We'll bring this back into session, Ms. Lane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Assemblymember Smith is correct that these need to be split. It needs to be, they need to be two different motions, or one could be a motion and then an amendment to balance the budget. So Assemblymember Smith is on the right track on that.
Okay, we'll go with that. Ms. Hale, did you hear that?
Yes, I did, and I will make my motion simply that we modify the mill rate to 10.16 mils. And I ask for unanimous consent.
All right, thank you for that. Any objection? Ms. Wall and then Mr. Smith, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is my third budget cycle. First budget cycle year, lots of uncertainty. Second budget cycle, lots of uncertainty. Had lots of conversations about, do we have a structural deficit the first year? Second year, do we have a structural surplus? We never really knew because there was a lot of uncertainty and noise. I commend city staff for putting together a budget that is balanced. Obviously, there's assumptions in there. If we want to challenge those assumptions, we probably should have done that earlier, but I'm much more comfortable passing a balanced budget. So I would be more comfortable with the mill rate that is closer to the manager's recommendation, recognizing that that was a significant decrease in our tax percentage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Mr. Smith. Then Mr. Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm actually objecting because I would prefer to be more aggressive and reduce the mill rate slightly further. I get it. I see it's a deficit. I also will be back here next year. And we also at the retreat can give the new manager direction on the budget and say, reduce growth to whatever, 3% or something. I think that's something that I'm going to stow away in my mind for the next retreat to give more direction there instead of just come back with and I'm not critiquing the manager's budget. I think he is doing what he believes is necessary to provide the services that the assembly and the city are asking for. However, as I've said before, I don't think downward pressure on the budget is a bad thing. I think a little scarcity makes people makes people work more nimbly. I mean, we just have to be, I think we just have to be tighter. 6.2% budget, that's not fully on the manager's shoulders. A fair bit of that is on us, wage and benefit, health and benefit costs. We agreed to that. We needed to do it to keep, you know, to keep people employed and to be able to retain and recruit people. But we have the reserves this year to be more aggressive. And I would be, again, I'll be, unless something terrible happens or I recall there's something, I will be here in the retreat, and then I'll be here next year during the budget session. And if we need to raise it, then I would be okay to do that. I don't think we need to have this, you know, can't budge the mill rate kind of philosophy. I think we saw the significant growth in property tax assessments, and I don't disagree with them. We have control of the mill rate. I think we can provide relief to the property owner this year. And if the growth isn't as large, if the market cools or continues to cool, whatever, we can adjust that in the future. But I think we have the reserves to provide some relief to the Juneau property taxpayer. And that's what that's what I'd propose. Thanks.
Are you trying to amend this now, Mr. Smith? Or are you just objecting?
Not yet.
Okay, Mr. Bryson.
Thank you. And I'm trying real hard not to like reference, but you guys are both correct. And I can help you. I can help us split the difference here. How do we respond to the community with the highest valuation and the highest growth in property valuations that they've ever seen? By giving them the lowest mill rate that they've ever seen. It's a good answer to give back to the community at a time when we're asked constantly about the cost of living in Juneau. And so we have a good tool to respond. So Ms. Wool is correct. We do need to pass a balanced budget, and it was very appropriate for the manager to propose the number that he did because it balanced it and gave us a sustainable budget. However, Ms. Hale had a way that she could make this budget balance. I had another suggestion that could make this budget balance, where we do have some pots of money that we can still accomplish the lowest mill rate that our town's seen since the 70s without unbalancing the budget. Now, I also agree with Mr. Smith. Man, it would be great to have I think I heard somewhere that 9 point something would make your taxes equal to last year's. No, that's not accurate. But here's the rule that I'm going with on that. Rather than trying to go down as low as we could to try and pick the bottom of the mill rate, take one step. If we go from 10.28 to 10.16, we're reducing it by 0.12. If for some reason property valuations stay on the same track, we can make another incremental move next budget cycle. You don't just go from too much to too little or try to make it from a whole bunch to zero. You take a small incremental step. And so that 0.12 that we want to reduce from the manager's budget is that very small step that still gives the citizens the lowest mill rate they've ever seen. It puts pressure that Mr. Smith was looking for, but it also provides still a balanced budget that Ms. Wall was mentioning. I really like this 10.16 number. Once it got in my head, no other number made as much sense as this. And again, you're both correct. So thank you for the time, Madam Mayor. That's my point on it.
Thank you, Mr. Bryson. Ms. Hughes Candies, and then Ms. Gladysevsky, and then I'll chat, and then we'll go to Ms. Tail.
Wrong one. Let me unmute the other one.
You're talking.
Okay, that's better. You can still hear me now, right? No?
Correct.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay, good. I can unmute either one. The other one makes me feel crazy because there's a delay. So respond to a couple of things. I'm gonna say again, I said it last year, downward pressure is not that this is not when you do downward pressure, it's like you said, it's retreat. And having been at the retreat, the manager brought us the budget that we asked him to bring. So just want to say that for the public. It is always balanced. You know, we've got to be responsive to hearing and responding to the conditions of the community members, but we did provide guidance to the manager and he brought us a budget that followed that guidance. I'm also going to say about downward pressure, if and scarcity, to use those words, that would be being brave and making cuts to services. If you want to cut your budget, you know, if you want to make things meager, you cut off lines of service. You don't just underfund your government. I felt like at the end of last year, when we did the mill rate, you know, you can go two ways. You can either say no to a bunch of one-time spending and keep the mill rate lower, or if we're going to spend a bunch of money, then you can't make the mill rate that low, because it's sort of a philosophical guidepost for me as well, that the budget should balance. If you do stuff, you've got to pay for it. And that's the way that works. I appreciated one of the first things I looked for the night after we did the pending list was how much in reoccurring costs did we add? And I knew that it would not have a chance of passing here. And I'm not saying that necessarily I really wanted to do it, but based on our actions, we should be adding 0.05 based on the actions we took. That would be responsive to what we did in the budget process. I am also sensitive to the fact that inflation is crazy right now. I'm sensitive to the fact that we live in an insane housing market where everyone's assessments are up. So I would not be making the arguments that some people are making, but if I were making the arguments for these numbers, and Ms. Hale is doing that a bit, is that I would be thinking of it as the city helping bear the cost for a year or trying to soften the blow for a year. And her companion piece that she'd like to do is a relatively harmless place to take it from, all things considered. Although I certainly couldn't live with doing that for more than a year, because I mean, I think it just starts to emulate what they do up the hill as far as not making real decisions and then just paying for our underfunding the government through our savings, which I think is a bad long-term plan. So I'll leave it right there. It sounds like people are going to make more amendments, but we've got to pay for stuff, and I do appreciate Ms. Hale. Sounds like she has a way to do it, but I don't think the answer is if something's historically high, we do something historically low. But I do agree that it should be responsive to how much money you're actually bringing in.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes Candies. Ms. Gladysevsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll try to be as brief as I can. Having made a spreadsheet of 25 years of property values, I can tell you that this is not the most increase of property values. There are different houses. This was just single family houses and condos. But so sometimes properties don't increase for 4 or 5 years and then jump 18%. So just to dispel the idea that this was the most ever. I do agree that this was on average, this was pretty big. So I do think I would like to do some reasonable reduction in the mill rate. And I think this is a reasonable reduction. What, you know, we can pay for it with a number of things. $1 million, I would be happy to just for 1 year, take it out of the putting it into the other savings account. And also would say the same thing I said last year, which this is reducing underfunding of the government. Reducing is not downward pressure. We need to, if we want downward pressure, we need to stop doing something. So I could support this. I'd like to give some property tax relief I wouldn't be able to go any lower than this. So thanks for the time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gladysevsky. And then I'll say my piece. I am sensitive to what everybody has seen in the property assessments, but to be realistic, the property assessments are probably pretty right on. I mean, most of the people that I've asked, when they say, I can't believe my assessment went up, I've said, can you sell your house for that much? And they said, well, yeah, but that's not the point. Well, actually, that's the point. But and the answer to Ms. Wall's question is yes, we're in a structural deficit for the first time in our operating. So, which is kind of a weird place for us. Last year, we were in our surplus in our operating because our revenues outdid our expenditures this year. In our operating, our expenditures are greater than their revenue. So I'm struggling with this one. 10.16 would be the absolute lowest I would have to go. And I'm sorry that we can't link this with where we're getting that money because that would have a big thing to me. But right now, I'm guessing that well, I can make up my mind when I vote, so I won't say anything. Ms. Hale, and then we'll go. Okay. Okay, Ms. Hale.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a process question. The process question is, and I may have made a mistake when I made the motion. So I made the motion to move the mill rate and then to change it. So are we voting on my amendment and then voting on the actual ordinance?
We're voting on your amendment and then on the actual, okay. Shh. We are voting on or we're talking about the 10.16. And if we vote on that, then we would just be moving the ordinance. Yes. If that answered your question.
So the reason I'm asking that question is that if that vote fails, then just to make sure we're doing everything per the rules, what happens to the ordinance?
Then someone else would have to make a motion and we would keep going this till we could get 5 people to agree.
Super. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Gladys
About the order, if 10.16 fails, 10.28 isn't automatic. That has to have 5 votes too. Something has to have 5 votes. That's all.
Yep. So
Madam Mayor, I also,
Mr. Smith and then Ms. Hughes Gandes, we'll come back to you.
okay.
I just have to do this and I'm sorry. And I know I'm not going to take up a bunch of time because I don't think the votes are there. I would move to amend the proposed mill rate to 10.0. And the reason is very good, is that 10.0 increases property tax revenue by 6.9%. The manager's budget grew, the manager's budget itself grew by 6.2%. Remember again that sales tax is projected to grow by 17. We are a singular government, or we are not multiple branches of government, so we can direct the manager. I don't know that the fleet replacement shouldn't be $527,900 addition. I don't know those things. We can direct the manager or put downward pressure on the budget so that they propose things that that they can keep the budget where we want to do it without us getting deep into the details on, again, why fleet replacement needed to increase by 528,000. Nonetheless, that's all I'd say. And anyway, that's my motion. Thank you.
I saw a flurry of hands objecting. Does anybody want to speak to their objection? Seeing none, I will, Ms. Taylor or Ms. Hughes Gandes, you want to speak to your objection? Or are we going to move on?
No, Madam Mayor, I don't have to speak to this objection, but I do have a process question when this.
Okay,
fails.
what's your process question?
It's not about this.
Okay, I will speak to my objection, and while I appreciate Mr. Smith's perspective on that, I would disagree totally. How do we tell staff that they need to cut the budget when we just increased it? I don't think that's a good message to staff. So with that, we have a motion and objection. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor Weldon. Assemblymember Hale made an original.
Oh, sorry. We just
Right. Assemblymember Hale made an original motion to reduce the total mill rate from 10.28 mils to 10.16 mils. Assemblymember Smith made an amendment to that motion to instead reduce it to 10 mils. Assemblymember Smith.
Yes.
Assemblymember Gladys.
No.
Assemblymember Bryson.
No.
Assemblymember Hale.
Yes.
Assemblymember Hughes Gandes.
No.
Assemblymember Wall.
No.
Mayor Weldon.
No.
Motion fails, 2 ayes, 5 nays.
Okay, back to the main motion. Let's call the question.
Madam Mayor, now that's where my question is.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hughes Gandes.
Thank you. Ms. Ms. Hale, you were trying to get at something that I have a question about, because your things can't be linked and they do need to be separate motions, which I agree with. My question is whether you would consider, and maybe Mayor, you could tell me if you think this is out of order, but that she withdraw her motion and make a motion instead to make that amendment she's proposing, because knowing that that other motion might fail, you know, if that passed, I might be able to support this, but if that is in danger of not passing, I definitely can't support this. And I'm
So-
trying to think how we get out of here since there's only 7 of us. And I'm selfishly saying that because I'm walking towards my gate right now.
Okay, Ms. Hughes Candies, if I understood you, you would like to vote on where we get the $1 million from first?
Yeah, because I can't support without knowing whether it's just deficit spending.
Okay, Ms. Hale, I guess that's up to you. Whether you want to keep your original motion or try your other one, try the other half.
I will go ahead and do the other half first.
Okay, so you're withdrawing your 10.16 and you want to state your other motion.
My other motion is that we reduce the amount in the manager's budget to go to the budget reserve from 4 million to 3 million. And that additional million then will go back to the general fund. And that is my motion.
All right, any objection to that? Seeing none, no, that's you. Seeing none, that motion passes.
And then I will return to the original motion, which is that we pass the mill rate ordinance with a 10.16 mill rate, and that comes out of what is it, that top line? I can't remember which it is, and I don't have it in front of me because I'm on my phone.
So that would make it 8.96 on the operation and 1.2 on the debt service, if I've done my math right.
Mr. Rogers, correct?
I'm sorry, Mayor Weldon, can I hear that again?
8.96 for the operation and 1.2 for debt service, if I've done my math right.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I'm not following.
Where does that yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, Madam Mayor, unless you tell us otherwise, staff will always assume that your changes to the mill rate apply to the area wide, and you should look at page 36 of your pack.
Yes, we're looking at. Okay.
That is exactly right. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion for 10.16 objection. Ms. Wall, do you need to speak to your objection? Well, that's still Ms. Hale. All right, so we have a motion and objection. Madam Clerk, will you please call roll?
Thank you, Mayor Weldon. On the motion to reduce the total mill rate from 10.28 mils to 10.16 mils, Assemblymember Hale,
Yes.
Assemblymember Wall,
No.
Assemblymember Bryson,
Yes.
Assemblymember Hughes Candies,
Ms. Hughes Candies, are you still with us?
She's on the airplane.
she is still online.
Ms. Hughes Candies? Go ahead.
Can you,
I just heard.
Go ahead.
can you hear me? Where
Yes.
are we at?
Voting on the 10.16, the $1 million
Sure.
came. So is that a yes?
Sure.
Okay, we have a yes.
Assemblymember Smith,
Yes.
Assemblymember Gladysevsky,
Yes.
Mayor Weldon.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 1 nay.
Okay,
And then
so thank you for that. Ms. Gladysevsky, you want to move that one?
I would move ordinance 2023-16 to the, as amended to the full assembly.
Any objection to that? Seeing none, so moved. That leads us to the CBJ budget ordinance. Ms. Gladysevsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would move CBJ ordinance 2023-14.
As amended.
Yeah, as amended to the full assembly.
Mr. Watt, Mr. Rogers, do you need anything more from us?
Mayor Weldon, I'm not aware. I think you're ready to move.
All right, so the next meeting of finance will be June 7th, where we'll have a delightful conversation, sounds like, about City Hall. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all tonight. Everybody made it through. Thank you, Ms. Hale. Thank you, Ms. Hughes. We're adjourned.